Alright, so you know the drivers, you love the overtakes, and you've seen the podium celebrations. But do you really know what happens down in the pit lane? Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to dive straight into the high adrenaline, split-second decisions that completely dictate the outcome of a Formula One race.
To really grasp the sheer stakes of this sport, just think about this number for a second. 1.82 seconds. Back in Brazil in 2019, the Red Bull team set an absolutely unreal world record by completing a full 4-tire pit stop in less than 2 seconds. Literally, you blink and it's over. The car is up, down, and gone before your brain can even register what just happened. Section 1. The 2-second pit stop. Let's actually break down this impossible window and see what's happening in that split second.
Now, it honestly looks like absolute magic on TV, right? But a standard pit stop requires exactly 20 people. Before the car even arrives, they're crouched down, acting as still as statues until that car hits its exact marks. For a split second, the entire lane just holds its breath. Then, every single one of those 20 people performs exactly one highly specialized job, all simultaneously, with absolutely zero room for error.
Every single stop is literally a race within a race. Down in the pit lane, it's a ruthless battle fought with hands, tools, timing, and an insane amount of trust. Just one slow stop can completely ruin a guaranteed podium finish. But on the flip side, one perfect stop can launch a driver from the midfield right to the front of the pack. Perfection down here isn't just a bonus, it is strictly mandatory.
Moving on to Section 2, Anatomy of a Pit Crew. Let's zero in specifically on the tire change crew to deconstruct that chaotic 20-person blur into highly drilled roles.
So out of those 20, you've got a 12-person tire change crew that has to execute this exact mechanical rhythm flawlessly. 3 people on each of the 4 corners of the car. You've got the wheel gunner who zips the nut off, the tire off crew who pull the old rubber clear in half a second, and the tire on crew who slam the fresh tire into perfect alignment so the gunner can lock that nut right back on. Nut off, tire on, nut on, boom, done.
But here's the thing. The slightest hesitation or wobble absolutely destroys a race. If a gunner connects at a slightly wrong angle, the nut cross-threads. Haas painfully learned this in Melbourne back in 2018, which ruined both of their cars' races. If the tire-on crew grabs the wrong tire, that's a massive penalty, just like Mercedes found out in Sakir in 2020. And, we can't forget the lifters operating the front and rear jacks. If their timing is even a fraction off, the car tilts, the tire crew loses their alignment, and the whole stop just falls apart.
Alright, Section 3. F1 Tires Explained. Let's zoom out from the mechanics for a second and look at the colorful foundation of all F1 tactics, the Pirelli tires. So, the Italian manufacturer Pirelli has been the exclusive F1 tire supplier since way back in 2011. But remember in 2022 when they dropped those massive, highly engineered 18-inch models? That wasn't just to make the cars look cool, it was specifically designed to align track technology much closer with the everyday road cars that you and I drive. It allows for a way faster transfer of innovation right from the circuit to the street. And every single Sunday, it all comes down to this ultimate strategic trade-off. Pirelli supplies slick tires in various compounds, famously color-coded for us watching at home. So you have to ask, do you want the explosive, aggressive speed of the red soft tires for a qualifying lap or a short sprint? Or do you desperately need the rock-solid durability of the white, hard tires to survive a long, grueling stint? And of course, the yellow medium tires sit right in the middle, giving you a balance of both.
Which brings us to Section 4, the weekend tire allocation. With strict limits in place, let's talk about the actual logistics of how many sets a driver really gets to play with.
The FIA is super strict about this arsenal. Every standard race weekend, a driver gets exactly 13 sets of dry slicks, 4 sets of green intermediate tires for damp conditions, and 3 sets of blue full wet tires for heavy rain. But what makes this a brilliant strategic puzzle is that during a dry race, the rules dictate that a driver absolutely must use at least 2 different slick compounds. You literally can't just run the same tire the whole race, you are forced to make a pit stop. Okay, Section 5. Essential F1 Strategy Lingo. Let's rapid fire through some technical slang so you know exactly what the commentators are shouting about on race day.
First up, marbles. As these cars corner at just extreme speeds, chunks of rubber literally rip off the tires and gather on the outside of the track. Drivers actively avoid these dirty chunks to keep their grip during the race. But here is a wild trick. Right after the checkered flag falls, you'll see drivers purposely steer off the racing line to drive straight over these marbles.
The sticky rubber clings to their hot tires, adding just enough extra weight to make sure their cars meet the FIA's strict minimum weight limit at the post-race inspection. Pretty clever, right?
Next up is graining. Think of this like the tire basically tearing itself apart. It happens when the outside surface of the tire gets dangerously hot and sticky, but the internal carcass is still way too cold. The rubber actually begins to tear and roll up into little lumps on the surface, which drastically reduces the car's grip.
Then you've got blistering, which is literally the exact opposite of graining. This is when the internal heat of the tire gets incredibly high, but the track surface itself is cold. That trapped internal heat basically explodes outwards, blowing chunks of rubber right out of the tire and leaving these visible craters and holes.
And finally, the absolute holy grail of race strategy, the undercut. Picture this: you're stuck behind a slower car on the track and you just cannot find a way to pass them. So you execute an undercut by diving into the pits first. You rely on your pit crew for that flawless 2-second stop, and you come out on fresh, highly gripping rubber. While your rival is busy pitting a lap or two later on their old, degraded tires, you use your explosive new grip to set a blisteringly fast lap and literally fly right past them while they're still in the pit lane. So, knowing that every single tenth of a second matters in that pit lane, and understanding the massive difference between those red softs and white hards, tell us in the comments below, how would you strategize your tire colors to pull off the ultimate undercut on the final laps of a race? Thank you so much for joining this explainer. Keep your eyes on the pit lane, and we'll see you next time.